Welcome to Saturdays with Mark and Tony, featuring Mark Lowry and Tony Campolo. Now, here are Mark and Tony.
I knew I'd get it on that one. I knew I'd get it on that one, man.
The question is not that. The question is, can prayer change the mind of God? And what about Jesus telling the story about the woman who kept going to the beating on the door?
Yeah, that's right. Tell that story.
Well, I don't know exactly where.
Come on, you know the story.
You know, the woman that goes and beats on the door.
And because of her importunity, I love the word, importunity. I love the King James. Mm-hmm. You don't have good words
because
like
she wouldn't quit.
Yeah, that the
she was persistent.
Yeah.
She just kept banging, and the king finally threw his hand. So that indicates that you can go to God and beg and beg and beg and beg. But sometimes God, I think his silence is no. Can't a healthy father tell the kid, no, I know it's best for you to go through this. I know that, or whatever.
I don't understand prayer. I don't understand prayer.
But you do it.
I do it, but I don't understand it. I don't understand.
What does it do for you?
It changes us more than...
Yeah. Well, for instance, here's a woman. She's widowed. She has 5 kids. She's struggling to keep these kids going. She's beating her brains out trying to make a living and take care of these kids. She gets cancer. So the whole church gets together and has a prayer meeting, all-night prayer meetings for a whole week. The woman dies. I mean, why does God not intervene when I think he should? Don't you ask the same question?
Yeah.
Certainly the people in the Psalms ask that question. Why do the righteous get their prayers, the unrighteous get their prayers answered, and the righteous don't? I don't understand prayer, but I do trust God to do what is best. And I don't understand it.
Well, I don't care how many people pray. 1 out of 1 still die. I mean, eventually we're going to die.
You got it.
Statistics prove
that's right.
Ain't none of us getting out here alive.
No matter what the miracle. I mean, he raised up Lazarus from the dead. What happened to Lazarus?
Miracles are temporary.
He died.
Yeah.
Big deal.
He died twice.
Yeah. What did he get out of it? Got raised from the dead, another year of taxes, and here we go again. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's tough.
And he was already in the bosom of Abraham.
Yeah.
He was already where we all want to be, and now he gets yanked back into this world.
Yeah.
Lazarus, come forth. I'd have been ticked.
I think he was.
That brings up a question about death, which we were...
Hey, did we answer your question? Because we didn't really answer your question.
Yeah, we did.
We did the best we could.
Did you have a specific example?
Yeah.
Just
probably about vocation, things like that. I started out as a clinical scientist and ended up as a nurse. And I've always had this controversy in my head where science versus caring has been kind of a debate because of cloning. I was a reproductive endocrinology nurse. And so I had to deal with cloning, and now I'm an oncology nurse, and I deal with stem cell research. So I always wonder where God is in all of that.
Are you for it or against it?
It depends. I think that
it's a good answer.
Stem cell research is a little, I don't think it's explained well. Stem cell research is 2 different things. One, we can use cord blood from fetuses, from deliveries, to do a lot of research, as well as just human tissue, versus destroying an embryo.
Right.
So I think there has to be some lines there.
But they don't even want you to use from tissue or anything, right?
Oh no, that's not true.
What?
No, they just banned everything.
They banned everything?
Yeah. Some of the laws in some of the states have banned everything.
Really?
But yet I've worked in Haiti with HIV kids, and I've worked in Albania looking for immunizations for cancer, those kind of things. So I have this big debate. And, one of my prayers, I just wonder sometimes, is God changing my mind or am I changing his mind? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
There's a big argument on this called the openness of God argument. Mm-hmm. At Eastern University, where I teach, we have a very brilliant scholar named Chris Hall, who's on the side of no, God doesn't ever change. And one of his best friends is on the other side of the argument. And he lost his job at Huntington College because he said, no, I have evidence in the Scripture. I can show you in passages of Scripture where God did change his mind.
Well, he repented that he made man on the earth.
Yeah, well,
he repented.
He looked at the likes of you, Mark, and said, why did I ever do this?
Well, he repented, right?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Well, Nineveh, too.
Yeah, Nineveh. He was going to destroy Nineveh. What, did he not?
Yeah.
He was going to destroy Nineveh.
But they
repented, and he said, okay, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
So I think that we do have a God that does change his mind. but I'm not sure how to work all of that into a reasonable theology. Whenever I have these guys that say, I meet them at my university at Eastern, and they say, I teach systematic theology. I say, what does that mean? Well, I like to do theology as a rational, unified system. I got to tell you, there are too many loose ends, too many things I can't fit together, too many things that do not fit into a system.
And mystery scares us.
And paradox.
Paradox.
Paradox? Isn't that where you park a ship?
Yeah.
Between a pair of ducks?
Paradox. Ronnie.
I try. Okay, there's another guy up there.
Yes.
How you guys doing? My name is Jeremy Sheffield, and I live in McDonough, Georgia, right down the street. Well, that's what I wanted to ask Mark. I actually grew up watching all of your VHS tapes, and I have your CDs at the house. Watched you, and I listened to Mike Warnke, guys like that. And I wanted to ask two questions. One, how do you write your comedy? It's not as biblical a question as the other ones, but where does your comedy come from? And also, when I watched your tapes, you always did a song called "Mary, Did You Know?" And I wanted to know what was your inspiration for that. And so those are the two questions.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What was the first one again?
Where do you get your jokes?
Oh,
Where does that come from?
from my life. Really, I didn't used to write them down. See, I thought I was a singer, and I would drive from church to church, and literally I had to wait for the little old man to change the soundtracks. That's when they were each on a cassette. One song would be on one cassette, so I would wait for him. So I'd start talking because silence scared me when I would between the songs. So I'd tell a story to try to make this, and I noticed people were laughing, and I thought, well, this is interesting. And so I continued with that. I realized they were listening. All I've ever cared about is, are they listening? I don't care if it's through a great sermon, a great song, a great story, a great anything. Are they listening? And the way I could tell independent Baptists were listening, because they wouldn't applaud, because that's giving glory to men. They wouldn't shout, because they're afraid someone might think they're doing it in another language. But they would laugh. And so I knew they were following the story, because I'd throw in little zingers to see, and they'd laugh, so I knew they were with me. And that just evolved. And then the Gaither shtick of the perpetual 10-year-old, which is the character that we created together, which is what I was, just like this perpetual 10-year-old. And happened when I would tell stories on stage, and he would interrupt me and get me off my train of thought. And so he would interrupt the monologues that I had created through the years. And that became me sassing him back, and it just kind of, that happened. So everything for me is, I did write a couple of books of those stories, but I had been telling them for years before they were ever put to paper. And I would hone them. Like if I would try this, and if it didn't get a laugh, I would back up and try something. And I wasn't changing the truth of the story. See, I think what gets a lot of people in trouble is when they make something up totally. And it's not even true, has no, like if I had not really been an ADHD kid, if I had not been in trouble, if there really wasn't a Miss Barth, to me those are important. And then the fact that she had thighs in separate zip codes, of course. that is an obvious exaggeration, which I would expect an intelligent audience to know. But there was a Miss Barth. I did write that letter to her. I did get kicked out of school for 3 days. I don't tell this, but I got a whipping every morning and every night for 3 days. And that would be harsh for a lot of people to hear. But that was my punishment. Dad would whip me in the morning before he went to work, and he'd whip me when he got home. But that's the way you did it back then. You know, you beat your kids. And so, to answer your question, I don't write them out. I try them out. But I'm different. I'm not a comedian. I'm a storyteller. And everything does come from my life.
The thing that amazed me is you and Bill, when you do those things on those homecoming and beyond that, when you did the praise gathering, I was absolutely certain that you had a scriptwriter. And I was absolutely amazed that you didn't have a scriptwriter, that this stuff kind of just emerged out of your interaction. Because I got to tell you, I've watched the people in show business who have scriptwriters, and I don't want to flatter you too much.
Go ahead.
I have never come across scriptwriters who have written stuff as funny as the stuff that you and Bill have invented together. I got to tell you that. That's true.
Saturdays with Mark and Tony is a presentation of marklowry.com.